होर्मुज जलडमरू मध्य की ज्योग्राफी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। ये ईरान और ओमान के बीच स्थित एक संकीर्ण जलमार्ग है। दुनिया का 1/4 तेल यहीं से गुजरता है। हमारी क्लासेस ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन दोनों मोड में उपलब्ध हैं।
Look down at the Middle East from orbit, and you will find a 104-mile stretch of water connecting the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. In the 1st century, ancient mariners documented this route in the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, mapping a tight passage between the Kalan and Assaban mountains. For the countries bordering the Persian Gulf, there is no alternative exit to the ocean. Every drop of sea-bound export must pass through this specific channel. The physical terrain offers no relief. Sheer rock faces drop directly into the sea, forming a rigid, inescapable funnel. This geography concentrates the region's maritime trade into one predictable, vulnerable line. The 21 nautical mile wide strait has a 25-meter-deep navigable trench near the Muzandam Peninsula. This is mandatory for supertankers, whose 25-meter drafts cannot float elsewhere. To prevent collisions, a traffic separation scheme enforces 2-mile-wide inbound and outbound lanes, divided by a median. Navigating a commercial vessel the size of a skyscraper through these corridors requires absolute precision. A single steering failure can ground a ship and block the lane. Millions of barrels of oil thread this needle every single day. The physical margin for error is nearly zero. Crude oil is only a portion of the cargo. 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, along with highly specialized industrial chemicals, relies entirely on this corridor. Massive shipments of nitrogen-based compounds, specifically urea and ammonia, transit through these waters continuously. These chemicals are the primary base ingredients for modern synthetic fertilizers. Without them, international crop yields plummet, triggering immediate agricultural deficits worldwide. A short distance away, Qatar processes and exports roughly 1/3 of the global supply of helium gas. That helium payload is required to cool the superconducting magnets in MRI machines and control the strict environments needed for semiconductor manufacturing. A disruption in the strait cuts off the base elements required for global food production, high-tech technology manufacturing, and modern medical diagnostics. Hostile borders squeeze this delicate supply chain. Iran sits to the north, directly facing Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. Iran maintains active military outposts and radar installations on key islands, specifically Abu Musa and the Greater and Lesser Tums, providing total surveillance over the shipping lanes. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps leverages asymmetric warfare. Instead of matching Western navies ship for ship, they deploy naval mines and heavily armed fast attack vessels. These small crafts are designed to swarm larger targets. Their erratic maneuvers across choppy waters make them difficult for conventional warships to track and intercept. Western naval coalitions routinely patrolled the strait to enforce innocent passage, the UN Clause doctrine guaranteeing ships the right to pass through territorial waters continuously and expeditiously. In these waters, legal doctrines hold little weight on their own. The daily flow of global commerce is secured by heavily armed vessels sharing a few miles of ocean. When those warships edge closer to conflict, the economic fallout hits immediately in importing nations like India. This infographic maps India's energy dependency. The country relies on imports for 88% of its crude oil, and 60%. Those transit costs are absorbed by the broader economy. High energy prices drive up domestic wholesale inflation and weaken the rupee against the dollar, forcing the Reserve Bank of India to raise interest rates. A distant naval standoff functionally acts as a tax, stripping value from domestic wages and inflating the cost of everyday goods globally. To reduce this extreme vulnerability, Gulf nations have spent billions engineering overland pipelines designed to bypass the water route entirely. Saudi Arabia operates the east-west crude oil pipeline terminating at the Red Sea, while the UAE uses the Habshan Fujairah pipeline to pump oil directly to the Gulf of Oman. This chart compares daily capacity. The global market requires 21 million barrels to clear Hormuz every day. The combined maximum flow of these bypass pipelines can only replace a fraction of that volume. Recognizing this mathematical shortfall, countries like India diversify their supply chains, recently sourcing up to 53.5% of their crude imports from Russia. While Russian imports provide a temporary buffer, they cannot eliminate the long-term reliance on Middle Eastern output. Despite billions in infrastructure and alternative routes, the global supply of energy and industrial chemicals remains tied to this 21-mile strip of saltwater.